Little Ham says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Five, four, three, two, one, go.
Good evening and Merry Christmas, everyone. Welcome to the ETims final podcast of the year, because I'm on holiday next week, so I won't be able to record these guys. My name's Desmond, and I'm very glad to welcome you all, and especially we have a full panel tonight. And first of all, I'm going to actually welcome for the first time in a long time the man in the van. Good evening, Ralph Malv. Good evening.
How you doing?
Ralph,
Good to be back.
Yeah, welcome. Well, in case anyone's listening and you're wondering who Ralph Malv is, he's the mythical guy that we always talk about, may join us very soon. But tonight he's actually parked the van up and he has joined us for the special end of year award. So thank you, Ralph.
He's our medical friend.
Yeah. On my screen below, this welcoming Ralph is the man across the water, Monty C. Burns. Good evening, Monty.
Evening, Desi. Evening, lads. Good to be back.
What hemisphere are you in tonight, Monty?
Northern, cold,
well,
dark.
That makes a change. I'm sure it won't be for long. And this to his side on my screen, we have our resident tactician and the man who has went from being very calm to now bubbling under after quite an explosion week. Hector Bandito. Good evening, Hector.
Evening, guys. I'm actually over in North Carolina just now.
There you go. Hey, the ETims Globetrotting End of Year Awards. So that's really good to hear, Hector.
I made that up. I'm actually
See, that would have tied in perfectly with the awards, as you well know. I did let a cat out of the bag a little bit earlier, but we'll come to that later on. Right. So thanks everyone for listening. You may have heard the last podcast we did with Matthew Marr, the lovely Matthew from Hail Hail History, and that we thought that would be the end of the year's podcast, given our usual schedules. But then we had the fuck up against of all teams, Hector, Hearts, Stephen Naismith Hearts, of all teams to play, justify, I'd say arguably your worst performance or non-performance of the season, Hearts, Hector. Honestly. What the hell?
I'm sorry. I'm actually just trying to think of the answer. But probably they're the team out of the ones on the SPL, one of the 2 or 3 you'd have picked to probably play at home after a really hard. Let's be blunt. It was a really hard midweek win. A very good midweek win considering the team and squad we put out against Feyenoord. So I think spirits were lifted, especially after getting pumped at Rugby Park weekend before, when the second half we were just absolutely dire. So you were at the game, I was at the game. It was I was expecting a fast start, and no legs be heavy. It's not an excuse. After Champions League games, it doesn't matter who's the manager, Martin O'Neill, Brendan Rodgers, Ange Postecoglou. After a Champions League game, traditionally it takes a wee bit of time to get the rhythm going, maybe 20 minutes. It just wasn't the case on Saturday. It just was slow. It was Hearts seemed to win in every challenge.
Yeah.
And Hearts, let's be clear, who's been lucky enough not to have seen the game, Hearts didn't dominate Celtic and could have sliced us open 1-6. Nothing. It just wasn't like that. It was a case they got a set piece out of nothing. They scored a header which was ridiculous, non-marking the back post, and then they get a free kick. I didn't think it was a free kick, but the free kick was given 25 yards out. Decent strike. The guy 2-0. You're waiting the charge, that, right, come on, let's get into this. And at half time came, we thought, right, need to start the second half. And I think where it just completely finished was in the first minute of the second half. Kyogo, by his own standards, had a sitter, an absolute sitter, just a touch, and it's a goal. First minute, second half, second minute, second half.
Tipped over.
And see when he missed that, and I think Obbs completely missed the ball. I think that seemed to just, any little bit smidgen of hope we had for a comeback was gone. I think if he'd scored that, who knows? I think the whole place would have lifted. But what's the big issue is part in addition to the form being so poor, is there's zero atmosphere. There's zero, because obviously we know about the Green Brigade's been banned, and because they've been banned, the other ultras group, the boys who are diagonally across, they're not attending in support. of the Green Brigade. You've got other fans who are not members of any ultra groups who are also not attending in protest at them being banned. The culmination is you've got several thousand pretty vocal supporters, no attendance. It's when the team needs lifted. It's traditionally the fans that get involved and sing a song, and this is when it all comes together. So right now it's a culmination of events. Poor form with the team. Looks like the confidence has gone a bit the last couple of weeks. Certainly looked the case on Saturday. And there's a total disconnect with the fans and the board for a number of factors. Bring all that together, a bit of a shitstorm, which culminated, I think, in Saturday's non-performance, unfortunately.
The perfect storm. So I'll come back to you in a second, Hector. But Ralph, while you're here, you may be able to tell me, could you tell me what is the opposite of there's a buzz about the place? Because that is literally what we have at Celtic at the moment. Is it a malaise? Is it a zub? I don't know. Is there a term for it, do you think? A clusterfuck?
It's kind of an end of term feeling. It's everybody's just sort of plodding along until school finishes. And we had that towards the end of last season as well, before the cup final. It seemed like everybody was just going through the motions, and unbeknown to us, but at the time, obviously the manager had decided to leave. Whether or not it's a manager deciding to leave this time, we can't say. But there may be a few players that have decided that they're no interested in either playing under Rodgers, or perhaps Scottish football's lost its appeal. Maybe the Champions League campaign showed they're not as good as what they thought they were last year. There could be a number of factors, but it's definitely got an end-of-term feeling to it.
Ralph, can I ask you a question just on that? It just got me thinking there. He's been asked the question. I watch, was it just Brendan, Ange and others, the full media conference that Celtic put on YouTube. I watch it all the time. Just to get the just to get the full context of it. He's asked all the time about players coming in, and has been done since the summer, right? And you can see him playing the game a bit, trying not to get too frustrated. Sorry, my roundabout way with this one is he's mentioned there's far too many players in the squad, which we'll agree upon. There's far too many. Is it possible that he's had one-to-one conversations with some of these guys and said to them, 6, 7, 8 of them, guys, you've no future here? And if you tell players there's no future here, if some of them just went, well, I'm not going to give my all, is that possibly part of the issue right now?
It could become part of the issue because we've got several what you would call key players injured, and we've had several key players injured throughout the course of the season. So if the guys that are stepping in for them have already been told they've got no future, then they're not going to give 100% no matter what happens. Liam Scales might be an exception, but again, I can't see that he's going to be a first-choice centre-back. It may be the 2 or 3 that are waiting in the wings will step in when they're fully fit, or it may be that he goes out and buys a couple.
Monty, to you, right? So you and Hector are, I would say, the team's defenders of Brendan. I know Ralph has kind of came on his side. I'm very much on the fence, to put it politely. But Monty, do you feel Brendan's how can I say this? Has he got one arm tied behind his back? Has he tied himself up in knots with his confusing selection policy? Hector's talking about some players have been. The reason I'm asking that, when Hector asked about players have maybe been told you'll not get a future, but Rodgers' selection policy then this seems to be scattergun, just picking any 13 from 15 and saying get a go, and it doesn't seem to have any logical sense of a kind of plan anywhere. Can you see a plan anywhere, or is it the plan get to January and sort it?
I think he just nailed it in the last sentence. I think there's a combination of a few things that are, you're just seeing the outworkings of them now. We said when the previous manager took the job, it's not his squad until he's had 3 windows, and the same applies to Rodgers, whether we accept that or not. It's not his team, it's not his players. Navraki and Palma were arguably the 2 that he said, yeah, I'll have that and I'll have that. For the reasons of, I think, Navraki, he came up against him at Leicester, and Palma, I think, was one that he was aware of. So he's inherited someone else's squad, and he's got 2 of his own players. He's 6 months in, 5 points clear at the top of the league, albeit they win their 2 games or a point behind. He's worked with someone else's tools for 6 months. He was given assurances that, yeah, what do you need? I need 4 new first team starters, and didn't get them. He's been saying that since the close of the first window. He's got far more vocal about it in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and that's coincided also with the dip in form. I have a funny feeling that I don't know if any of you caught it, but at the end of the Feyenoord game, Hart was hugging Lager Bielke and congratulating him. And if you actually read him, Hart actually says that he's giving him kind of, well done, but he actually says to him, no matter what happens. So, and you can actually see it, and if you go back and watch the footage of it, I definitely didn't fucking make that up in my mad mind. So I think Hector's right. These conversations have been had with people. Tell your agent to find you somewhere else. That immediately is a downing of tools. But there's also a couple of other things that I think are more serious. Remember at the start of the season, I think I put it up on our WhatsApp, about 8 weeks in and we were kind of stuttering a wee bit, and McGregor talked about them stripping it all back to basics. Information overload, I think was the phrase used. I have a sense that Rodgers is struggling to get his methods, or has been struggling to get his methods tuned into players that are inferior than the players that he had the first time he was here. And if you compare the 2 starting 11s, the one that he took on the first time and built in the first season, the Invincibles, they're a better starting 11. You just got to be honest about it. So I think if they don't give him money in January, he'll walk, Desi. I really do. I think the man's got too much on the line now. But we're just not. It's weird. It's weird how you can go from a really positive place to a really, really fucking sad, shitty place in the space of 2 or 3 weeks. And it's not the domestic form. It's the disjoint, all that harmony that we had. It's incredible that Lawl's managed to dismantle all that harmony in less than a year. I put it on him. He's meddling. He should never have been brought back as chairman. He just needs to get the fuck out of the way and let Nicholson do his job. I think the chairman has got far too much power, but that's a separate thing altogether. So yeah, I think it's a combination of all the 3 guys. Sorry for the
No. It's perfect. Well done. Well put. And again, Hector, I think that highlights one of the main problems. Nobody really knows. If you know what I mean, there's so many areas of confusion that we can't say, for example, the wingers aren't getting the balls into Kyogo, so that's the problem. We're not scoring enough goals. There's problems all over the pitch. There's problems all over the management style. The press conferences are confrontational. I mean, we don't know if there's problems between the board and the manager. Not like it's like, then, Hector, you and I were there on Saturday, sack the board, fuck Lawwell. That was anger. That wasn't this frustration. That was, we're at anger now.
And that's interesting because we've had our chat, and I've mentioned the Green Brigade being banned and the Boys Ultras not being there. If they had have been there, they'd have got the blame for that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really interesting that you're kind of everyday fan, you know what I mean by that? Just guys, let's go to the game, sing the songs when they're started, the others. But it was the fans out of nowhere. You were in one stand, I'm obviously across from you. It just started and it was really loud, wasn't it? Out the blue. And it was sack the board and Wall, get to fuck. And several times they did it. And for me, that indicates where the fans, overall, there's a number of factors at play here. Everybody's got to take a bit of the blame. Rodgers, tactically, he's a top-class coach, but obviously recent weeks in particular. But just on that, Desi, you mentioned a lot of scattergun with players. I would slightly tweak it a wee bit and say I don't quite agree with that. Here's why. Hart's been in goals all the time. The back four's pretty much been the back four, other than injury. Carter Vickers obviously been injured, but he comes back. But if it's Scales, Taylor, and Taylor, and Alistair Johnson, there, right? McGregor and O'Reilly are there constantly. The issue has been, for me, for the disjointed teams, the third midfielder. Rio is by a mile our most creative centre attack mid, i.e. he turns and goes from the middle, right? What Rodgers has had to try and do, and I think we can all understand it, he's tried to find the third player who can step in. So Turnbull would have been the obvious one. Turnbull scored 7 goals this season, and yet feels as if he's contributed nothing. It's a weird one with him. He's a joint top scorer. He's tried the younger players home. He's tried Bernardo. Awata's come in recent weeks. I think it's just been trying to find that balance, and it's been a struggle recent weeks. But out wide's our biggest issue. I feel out wide. I think Palmer's quite a selfish player. He seems to play for himself so far. I'm not saying that won't be the case in a few months' time, but he seems a bit of a one-trick pony. Give me the ball, I'm going to cut inside. Give me the ball, cut inside. He's went outside twice in recent weeks, and 2 goals came from the 2 occasions he's went outside twice, which is the frustrating thing. And then on the right-hand side, had Maeda come back as a sub at the weekend. Abada for his goals. We know his crossing's not his space. His goals, he scores 10, 12 goals. We've not had that. So you've had a mixture of Yang, who's not quite ready for the first team, might be in 2 years' time. We've now got Mikey Johnson. Mikey Johnson starting games right now. So if I look at Jota and look at Maeda or Abada over the past 2 years, now I'm looking at Palmer, Mikey Johnson, Yang. That's a massive downsize in terms of quality and how we play. They've not got the same talent as Jota, Abada, and Maeda, and certainly without Matati, our midfield just doesn't have that same class and skill. So my question overall, Desi, the board are without a doubt to blame, but by a million miles, they're the number one issue here. And Peter Lowell, Rodgers has to take some blame, but to not have improved the squad. When we all knew under Ange last season, remember end of last season, we had some more physical players, were too soft, were too lightweight, but a pace and power. We knew that with Ange. Rodgers has consistently said it before the transfer window shut, and you can see it in our team. Teams are targeting what's his face?
You're going to call him Lee Naylor? Greg Taylor?
I'm going to call him Lee Naylor.
Is Lee Naylor available?
It's his fault.
I would take him.
But teams are targeting and have been all season the diagonal onto Taylor. And by the way, if you're playing Celtic, you would probably do the same thing. It's physicality and lack of pace. And you can see a lot of the goals have came down that side in corner kicks and set pieces. With no physicality, with no physical presence, with lack of pace, lack of power. And right now, because of the injuries we've had, but a large number of games with such a wafer-thin quality squad, it's keeping it haunting us the last couple of weeks a wee bit. And by the way, you reap what you sow, and if you don't invest in the squad with £72 million cash in the bank, when are you ever going to invest?
Yeah, but again, the way these dominoes are falling, they're actually set up in a circle, so it's just coming round and round. As you mentioned there, right, we've got Palmer and Mikey Johnson, 2 players who are old-fashioned style wingers. They stand on the centre. They come as far back as the centre line and say, "My job's in that half ground." Rodgers had to come out and told Mikey Johnson, "You need to step up. You're that age now. You're running out of time. Blah blah." I don't need an old-fashioned winger. You need to be a modern footballer, right? So the question is, why do you go out and buy old-fashioned wingers? I don't like that idea of the equipment, but that also then ties into Taylor having no cover. Because he, as you mentioned before, again, Monty mentioned the communication. We've got Taylor playing inverted and you've got Johnson playing overlap. How can that possibly happen? They two are getting told to do that with Rodgers. Somewhere there's a mixture of messages. Taylor's still playing his Ange role. But I watched Rodgers telling the two of them to go inverted against Hearts. So somewhere it's all getting mixed up and it's not working.
You can also change tactics, Desi.
But what I mean is,
things at that level, though.
Yeah, what I mean is, they don't seem to know what they're meant to be doing. So he's having to do it like they do, and then one's doing it, one isn't doing it. Not right. There's no coherence across that team. But and then Turnbull, he comes out and says Turnbull's ability is to shoot from outside the box. When was that ever a talent that you wanted in a midfielder to break? Like that kind of, he can't be. It's not like a kicker for a UC or an American football team. We'll bring you on whenever we've got 25 yards. That's Turnbull's talent, Rodgers.
I disagree with that point because against a packed defence, what are your options? Every option you've got to score is either based on your wide players getting to the byline, your wide players being tricky enough to beat a man, your forwards being sharp enough in movement, or as that packed defence gets tighter and tighter and tighter, you've got someone from the edge of the box who can hit a ball and score. outside of Turnbull, McGregor hits the odd one. He got that one to pull us back in the game a while back, or a couple of games back. I think it was a St Johnson away. But outside of that, and that's one in.
So if you take my comparison to a kicker in American football, right? A kicker will come on 5-6 times a game, maybe say on average. Turnbull will maybe have a shot at goal once every 2 games. You can't rely on that on a midfielder for Celtic. That's my kind of complaint. He's not in the game, Monty. Hector will confirm. He scored a few penalties, he scored a few shots, but he's not justifying his place in that team, and that then gives Rodgers. That gives Rodgers a problem. And again, I'm not having a go. I'm just saying this is how it is.
And like, so we've got wingers. We're trying to all break it down.
No, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. So, but that's what I'm saying. It all comes round full circle. We buy wingers that can't get a ball in. We buy wingers that can't cover. We leave fullbacks exposed, and they're both not on the same wavelengths. And then we're buying. We've not got enough quality to actually be able to make changes. You're talking about tactics. The players that he needs to tweak tactically aren't actually able to do that job. So that just basically brings everything together into a cluster, a perfect storm. You know what I mean?
Can I take these back? And we've had this conversation throughout. Sorry, Ralph, I know that we've been waffling on here, but I think this is the crux here, my opinion. You can shoot it down or whatever you want to add to it. We've had this conversation constantly with Celtic. We never ever truly strengthen as a club our position of strength. We just don't do it. What we do is, when we've got to react, to see the people running the club, when we've got to react, i.e. Rangers win the league, the COVID season. Whenever the new manager comes in, they're back to the hill, right? So let's get back 2 years to when Ange came in, right? And what did he sign in terms of players and who brought in? Mentioned several times, experience. Players who've got experience, players who are quality, players who've got physicality, pace, right? You list here. Ange brought in Kyogo, who was 26. Kyogo wasn't 21. 26, one of the best strikers in the Japanese league. He brought in Starfelt, 26 again. Was he 26 again? Russian league.
Yep.
Right? So he Russian Premier League from the Swedish league. He brought in Juranovic, Croatia's right back. Was he 25, 26? I can't remember at the time. Giacomakis, top scorer in the Dutch league, 6'2", powerhouse for a striker, centre forward. Joe Hart, 34-year-old England international goalkeeper, and even his loan, one of them was Carter Vickers, wasn't it? So Ange brought in a team. Ange brought in a team of men. A team of men. Ange brought in. Hold on, Desi. A team of men he brought in, right? A team of experienced men there, with a couple of youngins as well, and a couple of loans. So the balance was a nice balance. But he brought in some men. Let's just look at this summer. Rodgers has come in, Ange is gone, Brendan's come in. He's brought in 22-year-old Polish centre back, Naroki, 23-year-old winger for Honduras, Palma, Laga Bielka, 22, for Sweden, Bohm, 1920 from Norway, Yang, 20-year-old from South Korea, Telio, 20-year-old from Australia, Kwon, 21 from South Korea. Where's the balance? There's none.
It's a regression, isn't it? It's a complete regression.
And we'll get 70-odd million pound in the bank, touching 100 million come the end of this month. The interims come through. And we're pissing about. Fuck knows what the scouting's doing. And this isn't scouting that's just happened for July. This has been scouted over months here, right? It might explain part of the reason why Ange couldn't wait to jump ship. Going way back to February, March time, right? If you're looking at that going, where's the fucking balance? Why are you not going out to bring in 2 or 3 quality, 5, 6, 7 million pounds experienced men for that team?
And the other thing I think too, Hector, is he lost Starfelt and Jota and Moy, and I don't think he was expecting to lose all 3. I think maybe one of them he would have accepted, but all 3 left him with a fucking huge gap in terms of experience. So at two stages of the season so far, and be interested in Ralph's sort of viewpoint on the football on display here, because at 2 various stages of the season it's been really, really poor, but only for a short window, where we kind of looked like we'd lost our way and then we reset. And then St Johnson, first 45, we lost our way, we reset. but we really didn't reset because the last 2 domestic games. But sandwiched in between that was the Feyenoord game. And I mentioned it on our WhatsApp. We're being coached to play, in my opinion, we're being coached to play a European style of football, which is keep the ball no matter what. But we're half pregnant in terms of we're not this mad gung-ho and keep the ball goes forward, don't fucking pass it back, go, 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 go. Nor are we as relentless as we were under Rodgers the first time, which is you keep the ball, you move it faster, but you fucking keep it, and then the opportunity appears. So when you add that to the fact that we're physically weaker, experience-wise, we've lost a lot. We've got players maybe who thought they were going to make it down. Perfect storm, but it's only short term. You know, we're a point behind if our nearest rivals win their 2 games. But my question to bring Ralph on it was the style of football that we're playing under Rodgers, because I know Ralph and I would have different views on the management capabilities. What's your thoughts on why we've tanked in the last couple of weeks, Ralph? Why do you think we could create a performance like Feyenoord in between 2 really poor domestic performances?
Well, it's not just the Feyenoord performance. The performances in Europe, results apart, have actually been a level higher than what they were last season. That might be because we started the campaign with a full squad, at full strength. We lost a couple through suspensions, through injuries, etc., and we had to bring in a second level. But we more or less kept to the same pattern for the Feyenoord game. So the players have obviously bought into that pattern, but they don't seem to be able to. It's kind of converse, because usually you would play a great domestic game and not be able to lift it for Europe.
Exactly.
But what we've done is lifted it for Europe and just turning up for the games at home. And that's backfired because the style that we play, the Rodgers' style, as it was in his last season, the first time round, is kind of readable to teams that play 4 times a season. And that the other thing is, under Postecoglou, it was pretty basic what we did. It was forward, we never stop, we play this way, that's it. We don't change, we don't even alter during the game if we can avoid it. Whereas, as you just alluded to there, Rodgers is telling players to change tactics during the game. The players, I don't think, have quite got a grasp of what he wants them to do. It could just be that simple. Or maybe he doesn't know himself.
I love the fact that I'm clearly watching a different. Excuse me. I am clearly watching a different team than many of you are, because I've not seen Celtic being impressive apart from the Atletico first half. The Atletico game was probably the best we've played. Feyenoord was up and down the park. It was great to get that win, great, but let's not pretend we were unbelievable on the night. We just performed it. We've been rotten the whole season.
It's not just about performance. The attitude in Europe.
But again, this whole we're playing European style football. We're playing dreadful football. It's like Hart gives the ball to the centre half. The centre half gives the ball to the other centre half. The other centre half takes it back. They play it to a wing back who then doesn't go up the wing. He just gives the ball back. And as I say, it's a horseshoe of insomnia.
Just as well, he's frozen there, right? I think his Wi-Fi's heard enough. So just on while Desi's paused and talking, right? I've put up the results because I'm as guilty as MD in short-term memory. You know, the last 2 or 3 games always come to mind. We beat Livingston 3-0. At Livingston with 10 men. Yep. Thought we could have scored 5 or 6. Lazio beat us 2-1. I thought we were pretty good and probably deserved to beat Lazio at Celtic Park.
Yeah.
We beat Kilmarnock 3-1 at Celtic Park. Should have been 6 or 7. We beat Hearts 4-1 at Tynecastle. Could have been another 5 or 6. A couple of poor results.
Nowhere.
There we go.
He's back.
In between. So there has been Aberdeen 6-0. There's been some good results. Don't say everything's been rubbish. That's just
okay.
It's nonsense.
So I mean, so you are basically, I still believe, in denial. You are still clutching. Yeah, honestly. Let me have my rant on this, because I don't know how Ralph ended up being in this happy clappers. Everything's going to be all right. No, listen to me. But like, I look at it and it's a total shambles. Celtic's a total shambles at the moment. There's no signs of. There's no signs of this needs a tweak, or this is short term, or this is this is just a few wee things. It's all over the place. So my question is going to be, how did Rodgers get himself into this position? How did Brendan Rodgers, an elite manager, this one and Monty can take for a start, how did Brendan Rodgers, an elite manager, allow himself to get into this position whereby he had 8 duds? Like he clearly said, I'm not having a go at Rodgers, I'm saying, how did this possible manage to happen? How did he end up with 39 players and 20 of them aren't good enough? How does that possibly happen at a club like Celtic, Monty?
I think if you look at it, everything's about your field of vision and what sort of fucking quantum of months are you looking at this in. So zoom out. If he's really here for 3 years, it's a 3-year project. I mean, that's it. So that first 90 days is the old classic. You take a new job, you got to make an impression. First 90 days, we're top, sailing away. The rivals manager gets fucking sacked. We're doing all right. We've had a couple of creditable performances in Europe, and it's not so bad because there were some issues getting the message across, but we're reset. So he's 6 months into a 36-month gig. If you look at it in cold terms, you look at it in elite performance terms, his metrics, yeah, you can argue the metrics are set season on season. They are. They're targets every season. But his goal at the end of 3 years will be to leave Celtic in a better place than he took it over. He took it over winning a treble and being really poor in Europe. Let's be honest. Ange's team was fucking great, though. It's awful in Europe. So his ultimate measurement will be a better competitive squad in a European arena. He's not going to be measured by trophies or trebles or cups. But at the fucking basic, he has to win the league. So how has he got into this position, Desi? I think he's walked into it on the basis that, well, if I can keep what Ange had, I think I'll be all right to January. And then Starfelt happened, and Jota happened, and Moy happened, and it was like, fuck, I need you to go and get me Ndidi from Leicester, who's on 80 grand a week or whatever. And he brought that and said, that guy fits my system. He's available. I want him. And he's been stopped. He's been blocked. The answer's been no. And I think that's going on, which was his first part of the frustration. I needed 4 players, but we'll go with what we have. He said that repeatedly. We go with what we have. And he's being honest, and he's not throwing players under the bus, certainly not in public. I'd say in private, as Hector alluded to, he sat down with 6, 7, 8 of them and went, you're not going to make it here. Tell your agent to get you a new club. I want you to go on for January.
So you're a manager, Hector. You're a manager. You're an elite manager, and you walk in the door or somewhere and you say, right, there's a squad, and they say, yeah, but we're going to go and we're going to spend £20 million on 8 development players. Do we really think Brendan Rodgers thought that was okay? I can't subscribe to the idea that Brendan Rodgers has got a 3-year plan to improve a squad of 39 players. You know what I mean? I just don't like. He is going to be judged on trophies. Coming out and saying I'm here for 3 years was probably a noose around his own neck, to be brutally honest. That was a wee bit silly. Kind of realistic when you think about it. I'm not having a go at Rodgers here at all. I feel sorry for the guy that he's ended up in this clusterfuck that Celtic have created for him.
But I
don't understand how it happened.
Zoom out. That's what I'm saying, Desi. Zoom out. Is it as big a clusterfuck as we feel it is?
Yes. How do you get rid of 19 players?
1 point. If they win their 2 games in hand, we're 1 point off the lead. It's not January yet, for fuck's sake.
It does not solve your problem. Right, so back to Hector, right? We've got 19 players that Rodgers doesn't need. So you're not going to give it a name in January. We've got 19 players in the current squad.
He didn't sign 19 players.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's got 19 players that he does not need.
Where are you getting 19 from?
There's 39 in the Celtic squad in January at the moment.
That includes kids, right?
There's only 3 kids at the moment.
Or not. It's got to be more. I'll call it up.
No, it's not.
It's no. He said, well, let's so 19 is just daft, right? It's daft, and also that's inherited what he's inherited.
That's what I'm saying. He's looking at a big list of players.
Let's be realistic here, right? They're going to try and move off probably about 7 or 8 if they can, 7 or 8 in January, and bring in probably 3/4 first team players. Let go of maybe 7 or 8 or 9. if we can. Loan, free transfer, whatever it may be, right? Just to bring it down, and probably similar again with his target come the summer. First team players and let these guys, because some of the guys might not want to move. They've been good money. You can't force them out, unless you pay them off. And the Celtic board done their around for doing anyway. That's by that different conversation. So getting back to your point about Rodgers, I think that's we're all kind of scratch one head a bit, because step back to when it happened, and Ange left, and it was Dermot Desmond phoning Brendan. That's on public record. They've all admitted that that's what happened. So Dermot Desmond, the guy who doesn't do any day-to-day running of the club, apparently, in his whatever his role is at Celtic, majority shareholder, it's not a role, is it? He phones up and says, I'd like you to come back. Are you interested? Rodgers wants assurances as he's made public. He'll say so much. Obviously, there's things he won't say. So we're all saying he must have been given assurances by Dermot Desmond, coming back, and just built quite a good squad here. Want to add to your own? Absolutely. This is a bit we can't all get. How it's got to the end of August, the transfer window. Monty's mentioned already, there's 3 absolute first team players. All in the centre of mid to be perfect right now. It's what we're missing beside McGregor and Riley right now. We're missing a centre half partnership. We've replaced them with guys who so far projects, and one who's a donkey on loan for Liverpool. And then the third player was Jota, one of our most creative players who we got a fortune offered to us. And do you know what? When that happens, sometimes you just have to accept it's going to happen. That's life. I think what Rodgers has let down was that we didn't get any first team ready, proven experienced players in. And that's what I think's letting us all down. Not just Rodgers, all of us. We're all gutted, the window closed. Step back. Everyone else was fucking raging at the time.
On the one hand, Rodgers might have wanted to look at what he'd got and assess it before he decided where he was going with. But it was a surprise that there wasn't a marquee signing. New manager, this is a new player, this is a way forward, just from a PR point of view. Instead, we get the loanee from Liverpool. But then again, if that's what he's going to be like in the transfer market.
Rodgers famously turned up in Liverpool with a 91-page dossier. He's a man who does his homework. He's a man who said he watched Celtic for 2 years. We're all pretty confident that Brendan Rodgers knew exactly what he needed. So, as you say, Hector, they all went to Mallorca and they all met up with his good friend Willie Hawkey, and they've all got villas in the same complex. They all had a good conversation. Callum McGregor brought him up to speed, etc. They knew exactly what was needed. How it never happened, we don't know. And as you say, that's what causes the angst and the confusion, and that leads to anger, as Yoda would say. But
what can be done in board politics?
Exactly.
But here, run with me briefly on this. I'm going to do it in reverse order because I just popped up the squad, the official squad list. So all the kids are out on loan, including 2 boys who'll come back and be sold in Haksabanovic and Inaguchi. So out of the 8 listed forwards, Palma, Kyogo are fit. Abad is injured. Yang's a project. O is arguably still a project. Tilio's a project. Maieda's been injured, just come back. Mikey Johnson will move on. So take that. In real terms, we've been operating with 3 forward players up to this point. In real terms, out of 8. I think be fucking honest. Because Johnson's not going to make it, and it's clear. Yang, as Hector pointed out, maybe 2 years' time he'll be ready. Maybe next year he'll be ready. Abada's going to come back, but he's going to right. So hold that.
No, I was going to say, sorry, just to reinforce that, Monty, that's 3 forwards, and we play 3 forward positions. It's not your classic 4 strikers for 2 strikers.
Exactly.
Sorry, carry on.
Exactly. So at various stages, we've only had 4 out of 8 available. Look at the midfield. Forrest is named as a midfielder in here, and look at how much we've leaned on him. Midfield, in real terms, other than Kwan and McCarthy, who will both go, Turnbull will go, Bernardo's on loan, O'Reilly will probably be our next 25 million seal. So again, you're not looking at something in an apples for apples Ange way. You're looking at there's guaranteed Turnbull, McCarthy, Kwan's a project, may never make it, but there's 2 out of 10 will go. Forrest is 32. Hatade's been injured. Bernardo, Tomoki, probably, yeah. But my point is, there's another 3 out of 10 that you can say they're gone. At the back, Lagerbielke, Kobayashi, Phillips, and Burnaby. There's 4 out of 10 who are gone. They're just not going to make it at Celtic. So to get to that point of saying, I just round off fucking 13 or 14 players who aren't going to make it, and I'm not Rodgers. So, and that's before you get the goalkeeping position. Segrist was a waste of a contract. Fuck, he's gone too. And Hart, by the way, has probably got only 1 more season in him. So it's not that we didn't fucking stumble into this. But if you add Jota, and classic granny had balls and all that, add Jota, Starfelt, Moy back into that equation, and they're fit, would we really be having this conversation right now? Probably not. Well, firstly, Phillips wouldn't be here. So, but you see my point here, Desi, there's a huge, and this isn't just that a new manager's turned up and these boys were playing, but he doesn't fancy them anymore. This is, I inherited a really, really good squad. At the end of last season with Andrew, we were talking about how good a place we're in and the value of our assets. We've secured the value of all our assets, but we didn't get rid of the fucking fat. We didn't trim the fat off the steak. And that's Rodgers' gig. He now has to do this. But you wouldn't get rid of 13 or 14 players in one window. Fuck no. 4, 6 in January. 4, 6. And maybe 1 that we didn't want to get rid of will happen in the summer. Maybe 2 that we didn't want to get rid of will happen in the summer. Or somebody comes in with stupid money for Kyogo. Imagine somebody offers us 30 million for Kyogo in January. What do you do?
Oh, you're lucky to get 13 million in current prices for Kyogo.
He's on a 5-year contract.
He's 28, 29.
On a 5-year contract, does he?
But he did just sign a 5-year deal, didn't he?
Yeah, he's on a 5-year contract and he's a proven goal scorer, Champions League, international level in his prime. And he doesn't really fit Rodgers' system right now. 30 million, do you take it?
No chance. I tell you, in 29, you're lucky to get 15 million for Kyogo, I reckon, to be brutally honest at this point in time. If it was last year's Kyogo and that, I know he scored a few in the Champions League this season, but I reckon, again, but that brings you to the whole looking into January. Other teams will be looking and thinking, I mean, I was talking about this the other night, we're now at a scenario where selling clubs know we are desperate to get people in, and buying clubs know we are desperate to get people out. It's basically we're in the worst case scenario. And also, buying clubs also know they could maybe start to try and tempt your Matt O'Reillys and your Kyogos at this point in time, where the grass is a little bit greener, and you may not be guaranteed Champions League football with Celtic next year, that sort of thing. So is there any worries about actual people leaving, let alone people coming in, Hector, in January, as we head towards wrapping this up?
I've always got worries with the Celtic board on the strings, Desi, and it's just a fact of life with them. What we see and what the fans see is pretty obvious common sense things to do. In many cases, for whatever reason, they don't. We mentioned strengthening the squad. Almost every fan I know, you guys probably the same to a man, wanted to see 3 or 4 good first team players in. A left back, a number 6, a winger with pace and power, possibly a keeper this summer. Could all have pretty much rained off probably 3 of the same 4 positions like that, first team players. With all the cash sitting there, still sitting there. So for us, we see that as, why was that not done? That's a no-brainer. Which I think part answers your question. How much confidence do I have in them to do the right thing? Very little. The one thing, though, I'm going to slightly challenge myself on is that when they're under pressure, when the knives are out, when the fans go at them, that's when their bottle goes, and then they react. They're a very reactive board that we have. They're not proactive, they're reactive. And actually, this window's probably come at the right time. There's no doubt Rodgers is giving Desmond in particular on the phone. He's 1-to-1 chat to Desmond. Dermot, what's the fuck's going on here? You phoned me, brought me in. These were the conditions, right? Look what's happened. Just not good enough, a lot of these guys. Come on, you've got to back me and I've got to move on. And I think that's where we are, unfortunately.
Keep an eye on Desmond's visibility through January. If Desmond is spotted in Glasgow in January, I guarantee you it's because Rodgers has told him, fuck this, I'm out of here. Otherwise, he's playing golf in Sandy Lane in Barbados most of the month, doing business. If Dermot Desmond is back in Glasgow in January, he's there to keep Rodgers in the job. And I don't mean that the board are thinking of getting rid of him. He's there to talk him out of walking. And that's, the jungle drum's always beat over here, and a lot of it's bollocks. And most of it actually is bollocks. But there's a few boys who would have been close to his family when he went back, and that whole notion of fixing burnt bridges and all that shit. Same words you're saying, he's fucking fuming. But he's not fuming with anybody in particular. He's fuming with the scenario and the fact that people need to really take it serious. If they want him to stay, they got to back him. If they don't, they'll walk. Why the fuck would he? You wouldn't blame him. But again, we'll be 1 point behind if our rivals win their 2 games in hand. If we beat them on the 30th or the 31st, whenever it is, we finish the top of the league with a lead, even with all the activity. So it's hard. It's hard not to put it into perspective too. But as far as we can see from the outside and with the jungle, it's not a happy man. It's not a happy camp. But you fix that with a bit of decisiveness in the next few weeks.
Right, so so just to tie that up then, Ralph, that's exactly, so to tie up what Hector said earlier and then what Monty said there, like Hector mentioned we signed Giacomakis, Carter Vickers and Jota, but we signed all of those on the last moment of deadline day. We signed all of them on the last day of deadline day, but then when Ange brought Hatate in, they came in at the very start of the January window. So does the board need to learn and go and get the players straight away? Are we confident they can do that rather than wait to the end and haggle, i.e. John McGinn style?
Well, that's another big difference because all these signings were all sorted by Ange long before the windows opened. We knew who was coming. We knew that they were joining Celtic, and then it was official on the first day of the window. We're only a couple of weeks away from the window opening, aren't we? And there's been nothing, which tells me then that somebody hasn't got the permission that he's looking for to go out and get the players that he wants. Or we've got the old-fashioned board back under the Lawwell regime that's controlling the purse strings. And he's put names to them and they've said no. Because if anybody had been approached and anybody had said yes, you can be pretty sure they would have announced it just for the sake of taking some of the heat off themselves. I'm actually more worried now than I was at the start of this podcast.
Well, I'm glad to see I've had that impact. So yeah, right. So let's just go for a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Out of 10, Hector. This is a basic number. How confident are you that when we come here have a pod in January, we'll all feel a little bit more relieved? What do you think? And again, I'm not making you. I'm just. What do you think? What's your heart tell you at the moment?
I've got to ask the question. What part of January are you talking about here?
Well, no, you tell me. You decide. I'm just thinking into the new year. We're moving into the new year. How are you going to feel? End of January window, whatever you think. Are you scared about facing Bucky Thistle? Put it that way.
I think in terms of, I think normally I would expect to say 9 come the end of January in terms of new guys coming in, but the caveat's got to be Peter Law, the Celtic board, and I don't have any confidence in them. Desi, I think if they weren't running the ship, steering the ship, they'd have a lot more confidence. But they've shown over the last 20 years that you just never push on for a clear position of strength. That's my concern. Yeah. So ideally, I would say 9. With them pulling the strings, I'd have to say a 5. To be honest with you.
I think I'd be about the same. Monty, you're generally quite optimistic. You can usually see a path through that jungle. Are you optimistic that they will? Put it that way.
The only thing that makes me not optimistic, and I know I said this and I framed it in our WhatsApp, that either he's just really unlucky, his timing's shite, or he's a meddling cunt. Peter Law. And I was taking.
There's the title of tonight's podcast.
And I was taking meddling cunt for 100 pounds, please, Alex. Remember, Nicholson is Lawwell's appointment. A CEO returning as chairman of a club he left less than 12 months ago is fucking rare. And best practice governance tells you, don't do that. Let him fuck off and lie on his heated driveway and get warm. Fuck off. Don't come back. You did a good job. You did a brilliant job. I didn't realise the family's kind of in there now. And I know we gave his son a lot of credit for his scouting ability. I don't know what the other one does. PR. All I could think when I read that.
We've got a PR department.
My brain started frying with a fucking mullet in the 1980s thought process. Kelly's whites, Lawwell's, Kelly's whites. It feels like the cunt. I hate saying it. We shouldn't use the word, but I will. It feels like the cunt is building his own dynasty. And he's giving them all huge fucking uplifts in salary because the chairman signs it off. But he's not doing that unilaterally. He's doing it with Dermot Desmond's blessing.
And whose son? Who's Dermot Desmond's son again? What's he doing?
Ross, who, by the way, here's another little thing that we should always bear in mind. You see, if a billionaire says they're not doing something, they're definitely not doing something, that means they're doing the opposite. So when Ross Desmond came out and said, we're never for selling, we're fucking here for the long run, we're custodians, you're on your balls. And you ask the question, why is there going to be 100 million in the bank? It's to fatten up the pig. I guarantee you that either through Lowell's contacts over in the Middle East, Desmond's contacts in business, right now, Dermot Desmond's 74, 75. His son knows more about, or as much about football as my fucking cat does. They're in it for money. Don't be hoodwinked by this. And yes, they've done.
We're not money trusters.
This is. I'm telling you, the only thing that feels just out of sync. I'm sorry again. I'm long-winded. They brought Rodgers in. Rodgers is a great poster child for Celtic Football Club because he's an elite manager. You know, the options were another project manager. I don't mean project manager, Hector. I mean project manager. So how optimistic am I? Funnily enough, Desi, with all of that context, I'd say 7. We couldn't have fucked it up that badly with so many charlatans and politicians at the helm. And I include Brenton in that too, by the way. We couldn't have fucked it up this badly. We'll fix it in January. I really do. Because either way, if we don't fix it for him, he'll fucking win. And then it's fixed anyway. Sorry, long-winded.
No, that's fine. No, that actually brings me. We'll round that off by starting the next section, Ralph, with you, right? And that is the ETims end of year awards. Before I come to the main awards, we've got a side awards, Ralph, which takes in that very subject, and I'm going to allow you to vote. I'm going to allow you to be the judge this year for the ETims Jobs for the Boys, aka Nepotism of the Year award, right? Should it go to Mark and Peter Lawwell, Dermot and his son Ross Desmond, or Andrew failed another fitness test Dallas as the new VAR chief and Scottish referee in circles? Over to you, Ralph, to decide.
What you would have to do when determining who should win the award is to see who can do possibly the most damage to Celtic as a football club.
You're going to say the most star jumps there, thinking Andrew Dallas.
And although Dallas is in a position to do it on a kind of weekly basis, Lawwell and his dynasty are there for a lot longer. They've been there for a lot longer. And their conservatism is starting to wear a wee bit thin on the support, and I think we really need to. I don't know if I've given them an award for it is the right way, but I think we need to recognise what they're doing at the club before they do any more damage. So I'd pick the Lawwells.
Okay, Lawwell. Not all awards will be welcome. Let's be honest. So to be fair. So not all awards will be. So the Lawwells are the official winners of Mark and Peter Lawwell have won the Jobs for the Boys, aka Nepotism of the Year. So that brings us back to the main awards. Hector, I'm going to come to you to start with, and I've got loads of nominations from people in ETims Twitter land from today, but I'll just give you the category and see what you can come up with between you guys. So the first award of the year is Shock of the Year award, Hector, in the calendar year. What's your nomination? Okay, if you get a nomination, don't feel under any pressure. I
think it's an obvious one. Brendan Rodgers coming back to Celtic. That was an absolute shock. I think.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we've got Kevin Sweeney back in your air. We've also got Gary Ham 67. So he comes up with that. So else Hector's get Brendan Rodgers. Anything for you, Monty, under Shock of the Year?
No, the Brendan return, Brendan coming back, absolutely. Okay. Excited, but wow, shock.
That's fine. I've got also from Joe Blog City, I've got losing to Kelly in the League Cup. He didn't like that. Johnny X Scotland, Hector, a good friend of ours on the ETims Net Twitter. The shock of the year is I've managed to keep this Twitter account. And if anyone knows Johnny Scotland on Twitter, you'll understand why he did that.
He's had a few, hasn't he?
It has. What have I got here, Ralph? I'd also made a note of Rangers no penalty. Is that a shock, Ralph? Would you think, or are we giving it to the return of
I think
Brendan
it would
Rodgers?
it'd be the other way around. That would be if they got a penalty against them. Another shock, on a serious note, a shock really was that Jota decided to kick his career into touch and move to Saudi Arabia, despite the money on. I mean, the money's money and everything else, but that's set him back quite a few years. It has.
But again, if you get a chance to go and play with Benzema, etc., I can see the allure as well as the money. And again, they've been promised that Saudi Arabia will be in the Champions League in the very near future. So there was caveats there, and of course, the money is a big thing. And that's interesting because I did have a subcategory of most surprising deal of the season. Jota to Saudi, Ralph, or the 4-year deals for James Forrest and Scott Bain at Celtic Park. What do you think?
Any deal for Scott Bain has to win that out.
4 years. 4 years.
Are they going to try and make him a goalkeeper or something?
No, well, apparently we're going to have to get rid of this. He's just had a baby, so he's going nowhere. Porag Bell of the Bray also said the biggest shock is that some Tims doubted the return to transfer fuckery. So he's basically called it. So the winner of the Shock of the Year award is Brendan's return to Celtic Park. So well done, Brendan. Right, here we go. I'll start with you, Monty. Balls up of the year. Who wins the balls up of the year for you?
We give him the credit, so we'll give him the fucking grief. Nicholson for the transfer window, first window under Rodgers.
Okay. Who have got there? Yes, so we'll get balls. Odd bins through the Hashi, the transfer window. He's backing you up there. Hector, anybody for you for balls up of the year? This could be a unanimous one here, actually.
I think it's difficult to go against that, isn't it? We've discussed it to bits on the podcast already, so I think Monty's spot on with that one.
Okay, Joe Blog City Ralph is going for squandering a league lead, as we have done. So he's went for that. And someone else has said Lawwell return. So what are we going to go? Are we going to stick with? Hold on, where are we? Balls up the transfer window. Odd bins through the Hashi, and Porag also said usual transfer window. So the transfer window has won the balls up of the year award. So well done. Right, here we go. Here's a nice one, Ralph, for you. Most controversial opinion. Any thoughts on that, Ralph?
Controversial opinion?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, and it was just a very recent one. Ian Maxwell at Holyrood, either today or yesterday, when he was asked by Parliament if Scottish football needed regulations similar to those in England to stop clubs from overspending and doing wee dodgy deals and things like that. And he replied that Scottish football clubs are run properly and there is no need for anything like that. And I that was a jaw dropper.
Nothing to see here.
That was an astonishing thing to say, given that the biggest, one of the biggest clubs in the country went under, and it's looking well. It might not if they get fresh income this year from the Champions League if things go badly wrong. But how somebody can stand in front of a Parliament and say no, everyone's fine, and nobody's pulling them out for it. That is bizarre, and that's a controversial opinion from Maxwell.
Okay, he's a leading contender. Hector, just to give you some thoughts we have from Kev Sweeney. Brendan is not the top level coach he used to be. From Joe Blog City, he could be you and a different ID. Hector Starfelt, no big loss. Okay, Gary H. We've been in decline since before Ange left. Porag, why is Lawwell back? I don't know if that's that controversial. Here's one, Hector. Odd bins for the Hashi. Most controversial opinion. Rodgers saying recruitment had improved. Did you remember that? Do you remember?
You know yourself.
He did when he came back, didn't he?
It's all bullshit. The press conference, isn't it? To lovey-dovey minded this under the radar thing. I would say the controversial opinion would be the AGM when our learned chairman, ex-chief exec for 75 years, Peter Law, when asked about having £72 million in the bank, says, yeah, you've got to remember, I'm paraphrasing here, We've got to consider the risk if we don't qualify for the Champions League. You're going, fuck. That's how the mind thinks. So Ralph, when you said conservative, I would say conservative with a big capital fucking C.
No, this capital with a big fucker would be fine. Monty, my controversial opinion.
Conservatives, there we go.
My controversial opinion is maybe we should try and pivot a little bit. I would like to see us try and answer these problems with a bit of love. Why don't we all sing Last Christmas, but sing it to Peter Lawwell? I mean, rather than putting the manager's name in, why don't we put the beloved chairman's name in? Well, I mean, this year to save me from tears, I'll get a taxi for Peter Lawwell, maybe would work.
I controversial opinion, and I
don't know, Monty. You 15 minutes ago might have come up with the winner of Brendan may very well be looking at his exit plan. That could be a controversial opinion.
Yeah, he's too much to lose.
Mm-hmm.
He's too much. Honestly, he's far too much to lose by tolerating a bunch of people who won't let him do his job. You just leave. You don't need the money. He did come back to try and fix a legacy issue that he had. He's keeping his end of the bargain. They're not keeping theirs. You just fucking walk. Life's too short.
Okay, right. So, Ralph, I think we'll award it to Ian Maxwell because I think we all know that the first thing Scottish football really could do with is someone looking under the covers constantly. But we know what we're like. Here we go. Right, this is an easy one. Hector, our master tactician. There's a few contenders, but I think we all know the winner. Most improved. Hector. Most improved.
Only one player. Matt O'Reilly has to be, isn't it? He's the most improved player this season under Rodgers. I'd high hopes. First few weeks that Turnbull would turn up a wee bit, he's just got worse and worse. So O'Reilly by a distance, Desi, by an absolute distance.
Yeah, I think we've almost got a clean sweep. We've got Kev Sweeney, Gary H, Porag, and Oddbins Furuhashi all say Matt O'Reilly. But we do have Joe Blog City does offer up Monty Scales, who's maybe been the revelation of the season.
You can't say improved because he was starting from a position of nowhere. So yeah, I would go with O'Reilly just because he's bought in. You can see the level he's got to. But Scales is just out of the blue. No one thought that was a starting Celtic centre half. But
okay.
I'm kind of with Ralph on it though. I don't know if he'll keep the jersey, but hey, who knows?
Mm-hmm. It's okay. So Matt O'Reilly is a unanimous almost winner of the most improved. And you may have noticed that I went to Hector first there so I can move on. Ralph, I'll go to you for the next category. Most regressed. This is why I avoided Hector. Most regressed, Ralph. It doesn't necessarily need to be a player, by the way. It can be anything Celtic related. Most regressed.
Most regressed, yeah, Celtic.
Very
Celtic.
Good. I like it. Very good. Oh, I've not got that on my list. I like that, Ralph. Very good.
We've gone, and it's been ever since the 70s when we were a big force in Europe. Just that failure to build on success, to reinvest, to become the club that the support think we are. And I'm not saying that in any way that we're wrong. We know what we are. But we've a board, and we've had a board for half a century that is just happy to keep ticking along and be the biggest in Scotland. And we get something worth selling, and we've done that since I can remember. We sell it because we think that we can just replace it the same way we can replace any commodity. And football isn't like that. So yeah, Celtic Football Club is regressing again.
Very, very good. Bella Bay backs you up by saying the Celtic board. Hector, have you any? I don't know if you've got anybody in the tip of your tongue, perhaps. Most regressed? Do you want some time to think about it?
No, I think you know, Ralph. What Ralph said there is hard to beat. And actually, just in prep for tonight, I had a wee look back about previous windows and mentioned how Ange was back so well. His first window with experience and pace and power and physicality. Last summer, Bernabei, Haksabanovic, Abelgard, remember him? Tigris, remember him? Jens, remember him? That was last summer. Sorry, Aaron Moy with one player. Last January, Kobayashi, Awata, Johnson, we lost our physicality. So this regression Ange, apart from his first transfer window, it's been steadily getting poorer. So I think Ralph's spot on the Celtic club. People around the
That's what they did with Martin O'Neill as well. If you remember, O'Neill started strongly, and then we were every time it was less quality.
Yeah.
And in the end, O'Neill, obviously for personal reasons, but O'Neill had lost faith in the board as well. What was it he said? Get used to life in the slow lane.
Yeah.
But
it's what we do.
The opposite of then is we were skint then, and I'm not having a go at Martin O'Neill. Whereas now we actually clearly have money, they're just no spending it. Right, so that was a shock. That is a major shock at the ETims end of year awards. Our clear favourite, odds-on favourite, Greg Taylor has failed to take the most regressed award. Somewhere in the Taylor household, they're jumping for joy as Greg Taylor. Kev Sweeney nominated him. Who else nominated? There was a few nominations for. I've lost them now. I don't. Where are we? Most improved. Oh, here we go. Here's one for you, Monty. Odd bins for the Hashi. Most regressed. Nicholson reverting to T-boy status. So there's odd bins backing you up. Regressed Celtic board. Kyogo. We also had a few nominations for Kyogo. Gary H said Kyogo. Someone also nominated Hart, Joe Bog City. I had Greg Taylor, Kyogo, and also had Mark Lawwell, because he seemed to do fine, but now when we started to look under the covers and actually look at the hard facts, we suddenly realised maybe this had a immediate peak with Ange, and then it's all went tits up. Right, so Hector, we'll come back to you. Most missed.
Jota.
Okay.
For the team and how we play and how we're not playing. Is that pace, people hit the byline, the enthusiasm, the skill, the goals, the creation, Jota by a difference. And
the sheer persona. Remember the joy you had of looking at him in double denim in the brazen head? I mean, we things like that. But even like here now was up now, like Willie Hockey had them up in the Burnside Hotel, and it was all these laughs. Everybody's, you just missed Jota today, just popping into people's locals. I mean, like that was a personality, Monty. Again, we don't seem to have any big personalities. Remember that was a thing of Angie's thing and all the leaders in the dressing room and big personas. You know what I mean? People who like same as Ange, and that ties us back in. You were saying a long time ago, Hector, about the meek Brendan. Are we going to actually start to see the up front Brendan very soon? Is it time we come out fighting very soon rather than just whistling on the sidelines? That would be interesting. Monty, any idea most missed for you?
Functionally for the team, I would say Moy. Because I think we could have lived without Jota had Moy been there, because Moy would have been 6, which would have freed McGregor up, which would have offset the Hattati impact. But James McCarthy for me.
He actually played 34 minutes against EK Strollers or whatever it was last Saturday, and then get taken off. You know
Here, he's like a new signing, does he?
He's only got 2.5 years left. He can still make it. You know what I mean? Right. Man. So Ralph, I do have a few nominations here. I'll just quickly go through the guy. So Jota is the clear winner. So well done, Hector.
I'm surprised nobody's mentioned Postecoglou.
Well, I was just coming to that. Well, Odd Bins did say most missed Ange. We did have a few nominations for Ange. Most were for Jota. Some did say, where are we?
And Callum McGregor.
I know I had listed Starfelt, I had Abada, but also Hector had the Green Brigade for most missed.
Oh, dear no.
Yep, absolutely. Massive.
And then I've got Hattati, but the clear winner for most missed is Jota. Right, so here we go. So Ralph, this one for you. I know you love your celebrities. Top celebrity Celt. And the shock this year is Rod Stewart is out of the running after giving the Celtic fans the finger in the Celtic way, as Hector does the same to me on a regular basis and tonight. Rod Stewart is no longer in the running for this year's award, so it's an open floor. And the shock announcement I have to make, Ralph, Hector has been nominated this year for Top Tim. The Top Tim Celtic Granddads, Hector. But as you are a member of ETims, I'm afraid you cannot accept the award, so we've had to rule you out. but you have been nominated, so well done. That's a first.
I still think he should make a speech.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, if you want, I'll give you the floor, Hector, for 15 minutes after we finish the broadcast, right? And then you feel free to say that. So top celebrity Celt, Ralph. Any nominations? I would nominate George Patterson, author of Westerwick and good friend of ETims. Twitter. He's a Celtic fan, but he's now a well-known author in the Scottish circles and hopefully beyond. But we've got a clear nominated celebrity, but just see if anyone else has got any suggestions. Ralph,
I always like Alan Brazil because he never fails to make me laugh. He talks that much shite that you look forward to hearing what he's come up with the next time. It's nice of is it TalkSport Radio? It's nice for him to give him a platform because it makes him still feel valued and still feel as though he's got a contribution to make. And in fact, I think he's brilliant. He's probably the funniest guy on radio.
Listen, it's your nomination, mate. So we've got one for Alan Brazil. Hector, any suggestions for Celebrity Celt?
I'm struggling to think. Daisy, this one. Celebrity Celt.
I've got one listed that I enjoyed this year that I think Monty might pick up on, but we'll wait and see.
I'll have to pass on that, Daisy. Nothing.
That's fine. No problem. Monty, any suggestions for Celebrity Celt of 2023? It's a bit like the one I'm going to suggest, looking at you these days.
Yeah, Celebrity Celt for 2023. No, I think I'm still processing the fact that Rod Stewart has finally been found out to be a Tory cunt. And I don't even listen to him in the same way anymore. I used to really enjoy guilty pleasure a bit of Rod Stewart, and the miserable cunt even wanted his wine back from Ange after he left. So I think I'm getting booed. For me, that's the highlight, but it's kind of a negative highlight. Outside of that, no, Desi, I can't think of anybody who's popped above the park. That wee bird sang the Jota song, I'd give it to her without being too.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I don't know if that was maybe last year. It might have been the end of the season. Right, no, so what I was saying, looking at you, if you maybe grew a beard, I don't know if you remember the picture of Piers Brosnan and his Celtic top. Remember that recently? I don't know. I know you two are not on Twitter as much, but Piers Brosnan was nominated, but by a country mile. Greenock's finest, Martin Compson, has once again ran away with it for the 46th year in a row. Kev Sweeney nominated him. Gary Ham, 67, nominated him. Where are we? Yeah, that'll do. So Martin Compson, clear winner. Right, so here's a good...
Sorry, Desi, once came to mind, an honorary shout out, Mark Compson, right? So Big Bems. I think Big Bems is...
Oh, very good. Yes.
Over the past year or so, hasn't he? He's always standing up and shouting how much he's into Celtic. So Big Bems, I think, special.
That's it. Very good. He could be a major contender for Compson's titles now. You're well done. That's a great shout out. Okay, here we go. Right, I'll stick with you. In fact, I'll go to Ralph. I'll come back to Hector last because me and him's got a common thought here. Ralph, top Tim of the season. Top Tim. Any thoughts?
Top Tim?
Top Tim of the season. I'll give you an example. A lot of people have nominated Tommy Boyd, etc. Tom Boyd, for etc. But any Tim.
Tommy Boyd would get a lifetime achievement award for that. Not just a 1 year thing.
It's like top Tim. So again, I know you're not on Twitter as much as you used to be, so me and Hector get more exposure to this than you have.
That's just because the solicitors haven't been around yet.
Do you know what? I would say Martin Compston, when you mentioned him there, is always putting his voice to the cause, to coin a phrase. And he's never shy of speaking about the club. So I would give that to Martin Compston as well.
Okay. There's a slight difference between Celeb, but that's I see what you're going there. Monty, any thoughts? Top Tim? Any suggestions?
Michael.
Could be anything related to Celtic.
Michael Beale.
Michael Beale, very good. Michael Beale, that's fine. Okay, right. So obviously this is a special one, I think, for myself and Hector. Hector, have you any suggestions for top Tim of the season, especially in our ETims net world? I don't know if you remember this conversation we had, but I have noted it down, and I'm sure as soon as I tell you, you'll concur with me.
Go for it.
Okay, so the two nominations I have for a joint award is, first of all, is Davey, I'm not sure his second name, Davey, aka Celtic Bars, who has released his book this year.
Yep.
And the man who's done wonders for Celtic fans all around the world. And we wish him the very best of success with his new book, all about the history of Celtic supporters clubs, etc. So that is available, so please look out for it. And on the other side of the world, Yao Tao, the wee Japanese Celtic fan who has totally embraced Celtic. He posts wonderful stuff up. Yesterday, he literally had about 10 videos for the Nakamura testimonial or retirement game. And he just adores Celtic. He puts up, every time he meets a Celtic fan in Japan, he's putting coverage up, etc. And that guy is one of the best endorsements for Celtic out there. And he's just a fan on our side of the world. As I said, for Top Tim, we did have a nomination from Kev Sweeney for Hector Bandido, Celtic Granda CSC. So well done, Hector. I'm sorry you couldn't take that title. Kyogo did get a mention. Martin Compson, Tim Yao Tao, also Bella Ray also backed us up with Yao Tao. So now we come to, we're getting into the nitty-gritty now. Unluckiest, Monty, unluckiest Tim of the season. Any thoughts on that? Unluckiest Tim of the season?
I mean, Hatate is the obvious one, two injuries. Brendan Rodgers.
well, again, I did have noted here, Mark Lawwell, what's the chances of signing 8 duds? But Brendan has had to suffer the impact of that, did he, Tim of the season? But you also mentioned somebody earlier, Monty, I was thinking about, Laga Bielka. Scores in the Champions League and then immediately gets dropped from the whole squad. How unlucky is that?
Dyson Maeda as well for getting sent off. I think that had a huge and has had a huge impact on the season since then, especially in Europe, obviously. That was probably the most ridiculous moment of the year, but I'm wondering if it's affected him a wee bit more as well. But yeah, unlucky, because he could have made a real name for himself in that Champions League.
Yeah.
Well, those were all viable contenders. I did have Hatate, Lagerbielke, Lawwell, Rodgers, but we had a late winner nominated by CFC, Mikael G. And Hector, you were there to witness it. It was Santa being booed at Celtic Park on last Saturday.
It was one of the few moments on Saturday, Daisy, I burst out laughing. It was quite surreal, wasn't it? It was a half time, and they'd obviously they prepared this for a bit, as they do, a week or two. They've organised it. We'll get Santa around, waving to the crowd and all that, and we'll get beat 2-0. Shite in the first half. Rather than say Santa, we'll save it to next Saturday, right, against Livingston, hopefully we're winning at half time. They put them on and you hear about, I don't know, boo, boo. I thought it was quite funny, actually.
Half of us were shouting, get him on. And then he's right in front of me and his hat fell off, and the Waynes are looking up going, you know the main thing with the wee the main stand to touch hands with the subs knows they run by, and thing with all the Waynes are looking up at Santa going, that's an old man in a wig. He'd be skull capping that one. Oh, it was terrible. So well done, Mikael G. Nominated Santa Celtic. Unluckiest time of the year was Santa. Right, so now we're into the 2 big awards of the year. The 2 big major ETims award. We don't bother with player of the year. We don't bother with goal scorer of the year. We go straight for the nitty gritty. On Twitter every day, I try and have the classic tune the fat game of wank wank good guy. So that is our two big awards this year. I'm going to start with Monty. Wank wank of the year. Who would be your nomination for wank wank of the year in the ETims awards? Any idea? We've got a clear winner on this, by the way. A clear winner.
I'll give it to Rod Stewart. Rod Stewart.
Oh, very good, very good. We never had that. That's a good one. Rod Stewart, straight in with his finger. Straight in with a finger, Rod Stewart. Ralph, any thoughts?
Michael Nicholson for letting somebody walk all over him.
Very good, very good. Oh, it's all getting nitty gritty now. Hector, what about yourself?
Peter Lawwell. Shouldn't be anywhere near the club after what was it, 20 years as chief exec. He disappears for, a year, 18 months back as chairman, and his return mysteriously aligns with us going back to old shit, risk-averse ways. Peter Lawwell.
Right, so that they are great nominations. I had, hold on, did anyone else? Kevin Sweeney nominated the winner. Joe Blog City nominated one of the runners up that I had in my list, Neil McCann. Gary H nominated the winner. Hot Bins Furuhashi. I know this is related to a certain other website, but I have seen a lot of chat about it. Wank Wank of the Year, Lawrence Donegan. I'm sure a lot of people out there will know exactly what that's for. Podag Bellaverdre also echoes what Hector said with Lawwell, but Kev Sweeney and Gary Ham, they all nominated. I also had Near Beaton for his rant at Celtic fans, remember? I also had Lawwell, but the clear winner by a country mile, an Ayrshire country mile, Chris Boyd. Chris Boyd was nominated by the Celtic ETims support today as the clear winner of Wank Wank of the Year. So well done, Chris. So now we come to the major award, the big fanfare. I'll start with you, Ralph. Good Guy of the Year. Who would be your nomination for Good Guy of the Year?
You're not going to agree with me, right?
Good. That's why we're here.
I would give it to Joe Hart. I would, because you can see that he's kind of a father figure to the players. You can see that he's going to pick the papers up every morning or go onto the internet and see that everybody's saying that it's his last season, he's no use, he can't catch a ball, he can't punch a ball. And I say it myself. But he puts up with it and he stays and he still loves the club. He's enjoying every minute of it. So I would give it to Joe Hart. He'd probably drop it, but I'd give it to Joe Hart.
He wouldn't commit. No, he wouldn't commit for it. He would you would have to throw it towards him, and Greg Taylor would stand in front of him, and he would never get anywhere. He would punch it clear. What about you, Monty? Any thoughts? Good Guy of the Year.
Hard not to look past Hart. I think Hart.
Really?
Yeah.
I've got a full list, and Hart's nowhere near it, to be honest. No,
I think he just gets it, and he's also at the tail end of his career, and he's enjoying the moment. You can see him even with the Champions League games and at the end of the Feyenoord match. You can see it. I just like the fact that he really bought into the club while he's been here, and he has proved to be a really good leader. Outside of that, nah. I mean, we're just in a real sort of. Remember, the. Do you want
to nominate the guy who shouted at Rod Stewart?
I did. But I'm just thinking, we're just in this kind of deflation at the minute, and come the 1st of January, everything will be all right. But for now, I'd give it to Hart. I can't see anybody else who's really stood out.
Okay, right, Hector, before I come to you, I'll give you a wee couple of moments better fight. I'll give some of the nominations I've got. Kev Sweeney, for instance, says Stephen Flynn, the SNP leader in Westminster. So that was a shock. We take all nominations here. Odd Bins Furuhashi, of course, goes for Kyogo. Bella Brevet goes for the Green Brigade, supporting the Palestinians. Gary H goes for Brunei. So there you go. Where have I myself? So I've got the Green Brigade. We've also got a nomination from Joe Blog City for Cameron Carter Vickers, kind of echoing a little bit what the guys are saying. Any thoughts for yourself, Hector?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for one in a wee second. But my honourable wee mention has to go to the gentleman in the posh seats days where you sit, who in the second half stood up next to the director's box, was given verbal abuse out to the Celtic board, and the stewards kind of got him out the stadium. So I'm going to give an honourable mention to that chap. Well done to him. I think one of the people ever nailed it. I think the good guys of the year for me is the Green Brigade. I think when you think about everything they do, not everything they do will ever be right. That's ultras for you. We've had this conversation many times. Right? They're always going to push the boundaries a bit as part of what ultras do. But so many good things have came from them. We go all the way back to Just Can't Get Enough, the 125-year Tifo we did for the Barcelona game. The club, lo and behold, started selling fucking all that memorabilia that the Green Brigade created. Yeah. They started selling Just Can't Get Enough. The Green Brigade started. All the songs they've brought, the colour they've brought. But I think this year in particular, I think with the horrible events in Gaza, which we were all living through, and I know we're at Christmas time and probably makes it more apt now, but they're one of the few that fucking stood up, and they were standing up for Celtic for what we are as a club, what we should be as a club. And they've just demonstrated again that our board have nothing in common with us off the field in terms of Celtic at all. I've no doubt they all love Celtic as a football team, but Celtic's more than that. It's about what you are as a community, standing up for those who need support. And I think what the Green Brigade's done has been fabulous. And the fact they've been banned and it's coincided with Celtic being absolutely shite the last 3 weeks probably tells you enough about that as well. So the quicker they're back, the better. See if they're no back pretty soon, I think we'll see mass protests from the general fans as well outside the front door of Celtic Park.
I'll guarantee you, Hector, as much as the politicians won't like it, you'll be guaranteed they'll be back into the ground before the 30th of December. They'll probably be even in before the weekend. But
well, that was meant to have been done. Conversations, emails coming back and forward the last 2 weeks, and the club again are dragging their feet. And even today, should have been sorted today, and it's not been. So we get into Thursday tomorrow, try to get ticket access, yada yada for Livingston. Looks highly unlikely. Then you've got the Boxing Day and obviously the bank holidays. So for me, they're the good guys by a distance. They and the boys they're fantastic what they bring up, and fuck the board basically.
Yep.
Excellent. So that is a resounding winner of the Good Guy of the Year award goes to the Green Brigade. Honorary mentions on my behalf to John Lyons, who runs the non-referral food bank up in Carntyne, does a great job, works his pan in for no reward, that poor man. And also a big thanks and a big highlight to everyone out there on Celtic Twitter. A lot of them are trying to make the world a better place for a lot of people. So fair play to them. And that is the official end of year awards. So well done, all the winners, and congratulations to all the nominees, excluding Hector Bandido, who will now have to leave ETims to be nominated next year so he can actually come up and receive the award. You can always tell, you put that in your CV, Hector, nominated at the ETims Awards. Well, we asterisks at the top, unable to accept the award.
That was my highlight of the year, right? Was obviously the refill.
Due to nepotism.
Aye. And obviously my ambition is once I win the Euro Millions, Desi, when I buy the club, I'll make sure that my family get all the roles, chief scout, PR, merchandise, ticket office. I'll fuck
That's a given.
That's the case.
That's a given.
Oh, that'll be some podcast afterwards.
and of course, Monty, honorary mentions to Shane McGowan, Sinead O'Connor, etc. And the most missed. I had a big list that I just remembered there. So everyone that's passed away. So that's all from us, folks. I don't think we're going to have another pod until 2024. As I say, I'm on holiday, and the rest of the guys will be taking a rest. Hopefully, we'll be back with some new signings to discuss, with some enthusiasm amongst us all. Some of us are more optimistic than others, but hopefully we'll have a great result on the 30th. I will be in sunny Gran Canaria watching the condensation roll down the side of my glass. I've got a feeling, Monty, will you be somewhere nice and warm watching the condensation rolling down the side of your glass?
I'll be heading down to the Iberian Peninsula shortly.
Lovely. So
looking forward to a little bit of heat in the bones, and then back up to Blighty again. Not too long after. So yeah, looking forward. What about you? You heading away anywhere nice and sunny?
Gran Canaria for me. What about you, Hank?
Yes, the cold, bitter sunshine of Scotland for me, Desi.
Hamo Davy.
Aye, I can't beat it.
Lovely. And what about you, Ralph? Are you staying in Stoke this year?
No, I'm going up for the new year. I'm going up to the exotic west coast of Scotland. That quaint little fishing village on the Clyde.
Yeah, if you bump into Martin Compson on your tours round the coast, then you can feel free to remind them that you nominated them for top Tim of the season. So that's not a bad conversation starter. Yes.
Can I let you go? Can I let you go without prediction for the game on the 30th? Desi, you first. What's the prediction?
I'll go for one each.
One each.
2-1 us.
Ralph?
Based on that Brendan Rodgers doesn't seem to win the games against them when it matters, I don't think we're going to beat them. And I've never said that in 50 odd years of watching Celtic.
Did you not win every game that matters against them?
No.
Has he ever lost against them?
Yeah.
First
time round.
But it didn't matter.
Oh, there was a couple of times it was when he had Mikey Johnston as a centre forward.
Yeah.
The Cal
Lewis
McGregor
Morgan
left back,
centre
remember?
forward.
There was a game with
Yeah.
Cal McGregor centre left back. I remember a New Year's game or Christmas game, wasn't there?
What you going for, sorry? What you going for? What's the forecast?
So having said that, however, I'll still I'm a wee
Go
bit
for it.
more worried.
He's a score.
7-0. Always go for 7-0.
You just reminded me, Hector. What were you?
Go 2-2. I'm going to go 2-1 Celtic, possibly 3-1. I think we'll beat them.
Okay, I did forget. I did ask you before, but sure enough, I did forget if we had a Christmas wish. Just off the top of your head, Hector, Christmas wish, if you could have anyone in the January window, realistically, who would it be? It could be a new chairman, or it could be a new striker, a new centre-half.
That's a rhetorical question, this one, isn't it, Stacey? I'm going to say on loan Jota, please.
Oh, very good. Monty, any ideas? Christmas wish, dear Santa?
Just give the man the money that he needs, or else hurry up and let us get on with our thing, as the former CEO said. But just back the manager. That's all.
Very good. And Ralph, as a former marketing guru, we've talked this before. Surely Jota is the easy, quick win for the board. Do you think that would be their Christmas wish?
It would be. It would be. That would be what the board would. But my Christmas wish would be for a new board. As simple as that. Just for them all to resign en masse, or for family, for whatever reasons they can think of, for them all just to go, and somebody else to come in with maybe a wee bit of a vision. Hasn't happened for 50 odd years, but we can always hope.
Okay, my Christmas wish is we get and buy that young boy Mackenzie from Aberdeen, because I keep going on about him. And also, I'm really praying that someone buys Monty Rod Stewart's greatest hits for his Christmas. and he gets it in his stocking for Christmas. That would be ideal. Right, so that's us. We'll wrap up there. All I can say, thanks to everyone for nominating in the awards tonight. Thanks to everyone for listening over the year, for writing to us, letting us know you enjoyed the podcast, sharing your comments, etc. on various places where we post. It's always appreciated. Thank you very much, folks. Hope everyone has a great Christmas and New Year. As I say, we'll be back in January, I'm sure. It's just left for me to ask the guys to say good night and Merry Christmas. Thank you, Hector.
Thanks, Desi. Thanks, guys. Hope you all have a great Christmas and a wonderful New Year.
Thank you. And yourself, Monty?
Yeah, Nulligan Dave, agus Aflin, free Weiss Dave, as we say over here. Have a great one, guys, and looking forward to 4 signings in January, please.
4 signings or 1 exit. It's either one or the other. 4 signings or 1 exit. And Ralph, for you to sign off, please.
Yeah, all the best to everybody who's listening or reading or gets involved in anything to do with the site. I hope you enjoy the festivities and you have a great New Year and you get everything that you want.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Ralph, Hector, and Monty. So thanks again, everyone. Everyone have a great New Year, and we'll catch up again in 2024. Hail, hail, good night.